Hello. Good evening. It is Friday, November 21st of the year of 2025. So, welcome. So we have kind of a, not like a crazy show, a little bit different than normal. I know last time we did like more of a history lesson. We talked very little bit about like politics and stuff, because I know this has mainly been a political stream. It's meant to be political and, alternative culture, such as my intro implies. So, I do want to go over some stuff as well. I do have a guest on that he is a fellow Goth, I guess you say, elder Goth. Some people hate that term, but I think it just implies generation. I don't think there's any implication of like better or not, maybe bad, why not. Yeah. So that's just my own personal view. So also an elder Goth, I guess you could say. So I'll bring him on in just a minute. I do want to bring up some things, though. There is some breaking news, and this actually breaks my heart because I just started to like her. Marjorie Taylor Greene has just decided to resign from Congress. Now, in a way, I don't blame her because it's a snake pit. It really is. And it seems like it takes a lot if you're a good person to actually stay in there. That's one reason Thomas Massey is just so phenomenal, because he's lasted so long in such a horrific place, full of just like the den of like vipers. That's all Congress is. And unfortunately, and honestly, I really think that it has to do with Trump stabbing her in the back, calling her a traitor. She did nothing to be called a traitor. And now he's actually signing the bill that she was wanting to begin with. So, yeah, I'm a little bit, not a little bit, I am sad about it. I really am, because we need more people in Congress that are actually going to stand up for liberties. And she seemed like she was starting to come around, not fully like Massey, but she also, like Massey, is not an IPAC money recipient. And she is against sending money overseas to fund foreign wars and, just foreign aid in general that has nothing to do with us. So a lot of her, I guess, principles, ideals are some that I share as well. And I really grew to like her more than I ever thought I would. So I'm really sad to see her go. Anyway, so also Mamdami, I'm just going to briefly touch on this because I really want to go over the other topic of the night with the guest. Mamdami basically got what do you call it? It's not perp walked. That's whenever like they're in trouble. He basically, I wouldn't say he got his ass chewed out either. He basically kowtowed to Trump now, which is hilarious because he talked a lot of shit. And now he seems to be all buddy with Trump, and it's hilarious. I can't wait after the show. I want to see if I can go on TikTok and see if there's any kind of meltdown on all his far lefty commie like Gen Zs that are like full TDS, if they're just melting down with Mamdami, like smiling and shaking hands with Trump. I have to see their meltdowns because he was supposed to be their boy. Like, he's the Democratic Socialist that got elected. So it's going to be great. It's going to be great. Anyway, let's go ahead and bring in our guest, the King Dragon, Denari. He has been a buddy of mine. We mostly chat, on Instagram, which I am on Instagram too. So look me up on there. Oh, and before I forget, like, comment, share, subscribe, all the other stuff, because it's supposed to help me in the algorithm. I don't know how the algorithm works. Algorithms usually are not in my favor. So yeah, talking with my hands. All right, let's bring him on. Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you. It is an honor to be here. I feel blessed. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, but this is one night where I do not have a goth night in my local city. At least one that I can go back to. We'll get to that.
Yeah,
and had I known you were gonna be in full makeup, I would have worn my black liner and red eyes. But
oh, it's fine. I'm always gonna like have but I'm done. 'Cause I refuse to go on camera like without makeup. Like it's just anyway. So, to tell like people who don't know you, tell everyone a little bit about you.
Well, what's there to tell, really? I've been into alternative culture since I was a kid. Whether it be goth metal, like horror. I got into all the video game villains. Yeah, I'm kind of a gamer nerd. And
Cool.
one of the things is, I don't know. I just anything additional I gotta say we'll get into in time.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm not sure if you're in the group. I think you may be in the group on Facebook, the Goths Against Cancel Culture, and
I am
that's
not,
okay.
but they do follow me on Instagram,
Cool. Yeah,
and
it's a great group.
and I found a few new followers via them, and I made a few friends, of course, from Jake's live shows. A couple that live near me, but they're in Central PA.
Yeah. So where are you at? I don't think I really know where you're located.
I live in New Jersey.
Okay. I was born in New Jersey, although I was raised in the South, as you can hear. But yeah, cool.
No kidding.
Yeah. Military brat. That's why. But
Fair enough.
so something I wanted to get into with you. We were discussing this for weeks actually. It's been kind of going on, and it seems like Jake Munro. If you don't know who Jake Munro is, anybody, you have to know who he is. He is the quintessential goth male YouTuber. He is just like, he's a Pegasus. Like, I'm a unicorn, but he's a Pegasus. He is probably the best goth YouTuber out there. And he has been getting quite attacked for a while. A lot of it is because of coggies, which, as everyone that watches this knows, I talk about coggies all the time. And he's kind of been getting the brunt of it. This whole, you can't be goth if you're not left wing, which, look at my name.
Which is absurd.
Yeah. It's absolutely silly because there's nothing political about the goth subculture. Now, I can kind of see talking about punk. However, we got into punk a couple weeks ago or so because of a meme I posted. There was like a picture I posted talking about how there was all these rules listed at a punk show. And that's not punk. Rules are not punk. But yeah, so Jake's been getting the brunt of it. But yeah, I get it on X a lot. I'm thinking about making a video reading all these hate messages that I get. And I have so much fun with. Some of the people you see in the comments, I also have a lot of fun with those people. But it's almost like a civil war. Or do you not feel like it's a civil war? Do you feel like these are just like people who are really imposing and trying to co-opt something that's not theirs, but technically it's kind of anybody's?
The thing is, it's been around since forever, and one of the thing is, they basically cherry pick a few tracks, there's like one song from Bauhaus here, one song from Sisters of Mercy here, one song from Susie here. They cherry pick these few tracks that do have political themes to create a false narrative. And yeah, I've triggered quite my fair share of them on Instagram. I'm banned from Twitter, and I used to follow you too. I used to be Big Dominus.
Appreciated the follow, but I enjoy talking to you on Instagram. In some ways, Instagram messaging is easier, although I don't get to messaging really quickly or easily. I'm just, yeah. But anyway, yeah, in some ways, I feel like the subcultures, alternative subcultures, can belong to anybody. I don't think it really necessarily is owned by anybody, but it can belong to anybody. Anybody can belong in it. However, there's some things about the spirit of certain subcultures that do, it's not like rules, but there is a certain spirit attached to it. Like, for example, with punk, it's absolutely anti-authoritarian, right? That's the spirit of punk, is anti-authority. The spirit of goth, however, they try to bring goth and punk together so much because it evolved from post-punk. And they're overemphasizing the punk and post-punk. But post-punk isn't punk, and it's more of the sound. Now, I did ask Jake's permission today to take some clips from his Goth It's Not Political video. And I do want to bring this one up because this is one that is how I've been trying to explain it to some coggies. That goth, it can't be political. It can't. There's nothing political about this stuff, right? Nothing political about my nice Victorian-esque embroidered jacket here. Like, if anything, that's actually kind of conservative because it's Victorian-esque. So I'm going to bring a Jake clip up. I hope I don't get copyright struck, but I got his permission. So if YouTube wants that, they can have it. Anyway, and just want some thoughts on it once I get it going. Because Jake is really good about making a point concise and just flat out clear. Let's see. And I do this all the time. I have videos on here.
It happens to me too sometimes.
Yeah. It's such a pain because there we go. And no, what I did was they got into a zip file whenever I re-downloaded them and all other stuff. But yeah, but if it was a smooth show, it wouldn't be my show. All right, so here's where he started talking about, because in a way, I'm not really making Jake do all the work and all the research, but he has done it. Since he has done it, I'm going to use some of his clips. But I do want to get the books that he talks about. He talks about them in his video. I did link the video in the description on YouTube and Rumble. I did promise Jake I was going to do that. And if you want to see the full video, please watch his full video. I'm only taking like a couple of excerpts from it to talk about this. Now, with saying that, punk is anti-authority, right? Goth,
right.
Yes, it's anti-establishment because it is its own thing. It is kind of doing your own thing, but it has certain themes to it. And this is what Jake said that he read, and he actually reads out of a book in this, is why I wanted to bring it up, about what goth really is, how it became, and what it actually was. So let's bring that up.
Created as an escape from these things. It was a celebration of all things artistic. I'm not making this up. It's in these books, man. In the Flatfield was, in part, an expression of the numb-inducing boredom that permeated our existence in Northampton, Kevin explained. It was very claustrophobic with a real feeling of no future and nowhere to go. We had all experienced low-paying dead-end jobs, and I feel that all of this combined fired our desire to escape the humdrum existence we found ourselves in. Escapism. To escape this kind of shit.
Yeah, and that was pretty straightforward. I don't know about you with your experience with the subculture, but I really like to delve into the arts and the stories of it, with the vibes. Like, my personal favorite is, yes, I like the aesthetic, but I really like stories, like the literature, the art. Yeah, like what's your favorite part of the entire package here? Music?
Just the dark themes, like music, definitely. A lot of the popular films, stuff like that. You'd be amazed at how much of an impact horror has, and that literature has on popular culture. You'd be amazed. Like, for example, Frankenstein inspired the creation of the Incredible Hulk.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Stan Lee he took inspiration from both Frankenstein and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde to create the Hulk.
Oh, well, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was already an established kind of story. I don't think he actually created the story, but he may have just put it into something else. But
Right.
Yeah, there is a lot of influence in, I guess, the zeitgeist that comes from Gothic arts. And the biggest one that comes to mind, just like right off the top of my head, is Tim Burton. Now, some people shit on Tim Burton, and I will defend Tim Burton till my dying breath. Yes, yeah, he's mainstream. Who gives a shit? He's mainstream for a reason. It's because he's good. And he's consistent with his style. His style's never changed, except that he gave Batman nipples, I think. But anyway.
No, that was Joel Schumacher.
Oh,
Burton
okay.
only did Burton only did the first one and Returns. And I'll tell you what, Batman Returns is probably the darkest Batman movie of all time when you really think about it. Especially with the way it ended with the Penguin's death.
Oh, it's
and all
been
the
so
build
long
up and all the
since
build
I've
up
seen
and all
that,
the story with him. Even though
Yeah.
they kind of combine elements of Killer Croc with him as well.
Yeah, and that's one thing I liked about like later DCs is that they kind of like brought in some of the other villains that you never really would have seen, like in Suicide Squad and such. But anyway, yeah, just talking about the influence, and like I said, there's Tim Burton. Talk about Frankenstein. Mary Shelley was very influential, and the whole thing about Goth is that they say it's all about the music. There is more than the music. The music is a big, huge part of it, right? The Goth clubs, you go there and you hear the music. But like we said, arts, the literature, and there's so much more to it. But when you think of those, you don't think of like fight the power and like rah, rah, rah. Like there's nothing like Lord Byron, there's nothing at all that is wokeism bullshit in Edgar Allan Poe, for instance. So trying to co-opt something that is obviously just arts, just arts, music, art. There are a few songs that are political. Like I know Arabian Nights, for instance, and Jake mentioned that one, Susie and the Banshees. But it's not like punk, for instance.
Right.
They have like God Save the Queen song and whatnot. But Goth is romance, Goth is darkness, Goth is, artistic.
Macabre.
Yeah, macabre. It's embracing the beauty in darkness. It's not, yeah, people say, oh, you gotta accept people for who they are. No, if you're gonna be, that's your values, for instance.
That absolutely depends.
Yeah.
The thing is, like tracks like that were just merely people using their platform to send a message that they believed in, or somebody that needed to be called out, and I totally am down with it. I could have sworn, and I'm not sure how correct I may be on this, but maybe Dominion was kind of a FU to Gorbachev at the time. I don't know. Maybe that was why the Mother Russia part of it wasn't released, because although Kino, a Russian band, was post-punk, and their whole theme was calling out the corrupt government, and their lead singer got into a car accident. Draw your own conclusions with that one. But again, another thing I want to mention is these people that say you can't be this, that, and the third. The one that really kills me is you can't be misogynistic, yet most of you hate men. Figure that one out.
Yeah, and if you're gonna look back on what Goth drew inspiration on, you see, I don't want to say this whole women are women, men are men, but there's a very distinct version of femininity within what was to inspire the females in the Goth subculture. So it seems like it was very distinct. So to hate on one or the other, you know, you're trying to almost put yourself above them, which I think is just like,
Stupid.
if you want to be an angry feminist, be an angry feminist. But you know, the subculture has always been like this. You know, don't hate on the girl wearing a lace dress because that she needs to do this or that. And, you know, patriarchy, blah 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 blah.
Or that she got from like a lead brand or something. I mean, I know somebody personally that's like decked out in that stuff. But of course, the thing is, if you want, I mean, obviously you want to try to get stuff secondhand or get stuff that's like custom made, stuff like that. But you kind of ease your way into it. You learn your way to it. Like, I hate, like, you want to be a teacher. You don't want to be a judge. And I kind of hate, like, I feel like for a similar reason as political stances, I feel like it's become a weeding out process. It's become cutthroat. Like, I've had people that I was friends with for just about a week until they found out I was a right-leaning libertarian. And the thing is, a lot of these coggy elitists, they're not going to necessarily tell you to your face. Like, if you're out at the functions and they decide they don't like you, they're not going to tell you to your face. What they're going to do is they're going to hide behind their little group, their little clique. And when that happens, back off. Because if you don't, they'll look for any reason to get rid of you. And I learned that shit. Oh, sorry if I accidentally cussed.
No, you can cuss.
I try not to. I've been cussing a lot less in videos lately, and I've been doing an amazing job at it. But I mean, even though out in the functions we cuss like sailors, but
yeah, that's what this scream
is. But early on, I learned the hard way that not everybody's gonna rock with you, and you got to know who's going to be cool with you and who's not. But the thing that kills me is if you're going to cast people out because you don't like them, if you're going to cast people out because you have a problem or you're going to do this whole whatever, as far as I'm concerned, you forfeited your right to complain about the state of the country because you're part of the problem. You're playing right into the elite's hands. As far as I'm concerned, it's a well-known fact that the ruling class, they're all on the same page. Us, on the other hand, I don't know if any of you watched Dragon Ball back in the day, but one thing that, like, when Vegeta went up against Zarbon and he said, Frieza's afraid of the Saiyans, which means he's afraid of me, and Zarbon says to him, don't flatter yourself. What Frieza feared was the entire Saiyan race rising up against him. By yourself, you're no threat to anyone. And I said this to the Trump pansies, and I'm saying it to these folk right now. Like, if the only chance, the only way to stand up, the only way to possibly defeat the elitism and mobsterism of the state is by coming together and setting aside our differences. And one of the things that I always find really funny is, like, when you see those stupid TikTok things of the quotation, agree to disagree, no, fuck you, those kind of, like, okay, like, no, we should be focusing on common ground, what makes us similar, not what makes us different, because that's what the elite does. They focus on your differences to divide us. But the thing is, one thing we can find so many agreements. You're like, okay, we don't really like Donnie Douchebag because he's a fucking authoritarian, and he's okay. We can establish that. But the thing is, I'm not going to think exactly the way you do. And these people that cry fascist, first of all, where the hell were all of you 4 years ago when Biden was trying to force everybody to take the experimental jab and said stuff like, my patience is wearing thin, or standing in front of Philly with the red lighting looking like a Sith Lord? Where were all of you when cops were harassing a kid for eating at a restaurant back in 2021, by the way? But also, you hate fascism, yet here you guys are trying to tell people how to think, trying to gaslight people into thinking like you. If you want to punch the Nazi, your hand might bleed from breaking your mirror.
Yeah, and so when it comes to those kind of attitudes, I've seen a lot of, the whole like, you're a poser because you don't believe this and that. What I believe really has happened, not I say I believe, but it's obvious. There's been so much left propaganda, and a lot of it is, that boils down to communism. It really does. And I know like, oh, we're not all communists, but the thing is that whenever you take a magnifying glass to it, it's all slowly to inch towards communism. And so all this propaganda is coming out, or has come out for decades and decades. And so, yes, it was left wing is not the same left wing it was before. It's not. It's completely changed. It's gone so much further to the left. It's so authoritarian now that these coggies think that because they're punk, they're goth, that they are anti-authority, because that's what the left kind of used to be, and they're not, because all this propaganda thinking that communism is cool and all this other bullshit, and it's got them to think that if you're not with us, you're against us. And that's exactly how communists operate, and fascists, and they're like authoritarian.
Yeah, that's what they exploit.
Yeah, they absolutely become the authority.
The thing is, because you would think alternative culture, people in alternative culture would be above this kind of thing, would be above propaganda, would be more capable of thinking critically, but apparently not. Like, okay, you don't like Donald because he's authoritarian, fine, but you literally were voting for the other authoritarian who, by the way, locked thousands of you-know-what's up for possession of weed while smoking weed herself, amongst other things.
Well,
and
yeah,
what people
like evidence too to keep him in jail.
Oh yeah, that too. Kept one dude past his release date for that labor, and and that was another thing back in November. You can't be this, that, and the third if you pick Donald Trump. Yeah. Even though you literally chose an authoritarian too. It's like, and some of these people, like some bands, I find it insanely phony when they only go after Republicans. I find that insanely phony. Why are we giving Democrats a pass? I get that they're not in power now, but they will be pretty soon, because, as you know, earlier this month, Republicans got their asses handed to them, and deservingly so, because they went back on just about all their platforms as we predicted, and they're going to get their asses kicked again next year. So, but we should not be giving. We should be keeping that same energy.
I don't really believe they're going to get their asses handed to them legitimately, because there was something about voting machines going down in New Jersey, and they won hard in New Jersey. Whenever there's actually supposed to be like a big Republican turnout, although those are all blue states that were won by the Democrats. So I don't know why anyone's shocked about that. But no. The Democrat Party has like one of their lowest approval ratings ever right now. So I don't think that the Republicans would get their asses handed to them legitimately. But I honestly do believe, because there has been a lot of evidence about it, that the Democrat Party steals elections. It's just, they steal elections and nobody is accountable for it. But yet you have these coggies that are just, it's like, they don't hear it, they don't see it.
But
not at all.
But the thing is, like, election interference is, the U.S. is no stranger to, because they've interfered in elections all across the globe just to weasel their way out of import fees and stuff like that. They've been behind brutal regime changes, coups conducted by the CIA and Mossad. And the thing is, like, that when we talk about like the immigrants, the thing is, they wouldn't be here in the first place if we had left South American countries alone. We've destabilized places all across the globe. And that was more of a problem created by government as usual. And them being the quote unquote solution involves one of the worst examples of overreach that probably shouldn't, that I don't care what anybody says, should not be excused just because they don't have their papers. But
yeah, like USAID, just toppled all this stuff, funded the most outrageous things to destabilize nations. And that's part of the reason why, you can't call yourself anti-establishment if the shadow government, which was USAID, was funding your own platform all around the world.
Right.
That's the establishment. That is beyond the establishment. I don't know how more establishment you can get. USAID was funding like trans comic books in like Nicaragua or something. And what do these coggies all like? I'm not saying anything against trans people. I'm just saying that is their big mantra, is that it's all about, certain groups of people, period. And if you don't like certain groups of people, you can't be goth.
You know what else it is? Their big thing, but then again, it's almost everybody's big thing. Everybody's big thing is selective outrage. They pick and choose what to be upset at. Like, for example, like the people that were upset with the people that are mad at Trump, and rightfully so, didn't say a word when Biden was doing a lot of the same stuff. Or not to mention the fact that Obama deported more immigrants than any other president in history. Yes, Trump has bragged that he wants to surpass that number, but come on. Whenever there's a few times I brought that up on Instagram, and Jesus, the mental gymnastics.
Yeah, they move the goalpost every time. And I've always volunteered this information. Like, I don't get into details because it's my family, but I always tell people that, hey, Obama deported my cousin. Like, so that means that it was it's such a big amount of people that I myself had family impacted by it, because Obama deported that many people. And then I guess they decided that, hey, let's fuck with the census and just let a bunch of people in, because that's what it was, to get more seats in these blue areas, to flip them, and then get them amnesty so they can vote. That was their plan. Elon Musk even deciphered that and was going off about that one day. Actually, it took almost a whole week he's going off about that. But another thing I want to get into, though, talking about alternative cultures and, coggies, let me refresh people's minds who don't really watch often if you're a new watcher. A coggie is a radically left-leaning alternative culture person. Coggie because they have the cognitive dissonance, as well as being a cog in the system because they claim to be anti-authoritarian and anti-establishment, yet they advocate for government policies that would increase the government, which, if you want bigger government, you're not anti-establishment or anti-authoritarian. So
you're bootlicker.
It's a cognitive dissonance. Yeah. Yeah, I know. They call me a bootlicker. I'm a libertarian. But yeah, so cog in the system that they claim to be up against, and cognitive dissonance. So they're coggies. So it's much better than saying like radical left wing alt people. Let's just say coggies. That's not just
absolutely.
I'm not trying to make fetch happen. I'm not trying to make fetch happen. If you want to use it, I don't care. But it's just my own word that I use because I'm sick of having to say it the whole thing every time. So
no, it's good. This it's supposed, like, alternative culture is supposed to be anti-conformity, but this notion that you gotta have this ideology or you can't think this way is another form of conformity. A blatant contradiction.
Oh, especially because the people on the left, the coggies, preach diversity. They absolutely just love diversity, but not diversity of thought. Diversity of thought is what I think is probably the most important form of diversity, because the thoughts are what make an individual an individual. That is the ultimate form of individuality, is your thoughts. Because what I think, although we both lean libertarian. Oh, I'm libertarian. I don't know how if you're leaning libertarian, I'm libertarian. Either way.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. So.
I lean to the right.
Even as libertarians, there's still going to be things that we disagree on, especially as libertarians, because libertarians fight about that all the time. But I digress.
Oh yeah.
there's going to be things we disagree on, but that my thoughts on stuff make me me. Your thoughts on stuff make you you. But yet they have to always stay within a certain ideology. And there was a graph that came up of a study that there was less diversity of thought on the left as opposed to the right.
Which is not surprising, especially now that the people on the right are more willing to call Donald Trump out, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
They're more willing to point out the blatant flaws. Like, okay, wait a minute. What is he doing? Like, wait a minute.
And that's why they try to say there's a MAGA civil war. But what it is just, there's people who aren't cultists. And that if they see something wrong, they're going to say it. That's how it should be. There shouldn't be any kind of blind loyalty to anybody. Although I kind of have some blind loyalty to Thomas Massey, but he's kind of earned it, but anyway.
Yeah, why do you think he's trying to primary him?
Right.
For the same reason he ran MTG off, because they wouldn't bend the knee to the Zionists. Yeah. They wouldn't bend the knee to the almighty Israel.
Whatever it is.
The funny thing is, there's one thing. That's the thing that kills me with these coggies, is that's one of the things that we can agree with them on, that we can all agree on. That Israel has way too much power. They've been committing crimes against humanity for 80 years. It's been way too long, and that funding needs to go. The thing is, you hear the people say free Palestine, but the only way that could ever possibly happen is if Israel stops getting funding from the United States. That'd literally be the only way. That would literally give them a fighting chance.
I think we can solve a lot of the world's problems if we stop funding everybody,
especially Israel. That's the biggest one.
That is probably the biggest. However, there's also we send funds to Nigeria. Do you know what they're doing in Nigeria? They're killing off Christians. They're doing a Christian genocide in Nigeria, and so
you don't hear a peep. You don't hear a peep out of anybody about that.
Yeah,
you don't hear a peep.
Surprisingly, has been on about that.
I forget. I don't know how to pronounce this. The Uyghur or the ones in China. People are silent about that one.
I think it's Uyghurs.
Yeah. People are silent about that one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's because it wasn't a certain type of people doing it. So, yeah.
And that's another thing. That's another thing. These coggies also will say, "Oh, you're not outraged because it doesn't affect you." Is that why you didn't call out the ATF? Is that why you didn't call out when they were rounding up people for protesting on January 6th, even though it was a very stupid reason to do so, just because their favorite politician wasn't there anymore? But that's besides the point. Is that why you weren't? Is that why you weren't calling that out? Is that why you were cheering that shit on? Is that why you didn't say anything when cops were trampling old ladies in Australia?
Yeah, Australia basically had concentration camps of their own during COVID. It was, it seemed like it was very Orwellian there, and I don't think I ever want to go to Australia. Not just because they have huge spiders, but it seems like it's just very, very authoritarian there, and unfortunately, we don't hear as much about it. Now, Lady Liberty, on X, she's Aussie, and her and her husband Axel, I've talked to them extensively about how it is in Australia, and it seems like an Orwellian hellhole. Absolutely, and that seems like that's where the coggies want us to go, because the state has so much power, and even in the UK, you can't text your friend, the F slur, without getting charged for a hate crime. It happened.
That's another thing nobody's That's another thing nobody's talking about. Nobody's calling anybody out for. The fact that people are getting jailed in the UK for memes, or the trucker debacle in Canada, that whole convoy, and people were getting trampled and getting their accounts frozen.
Yeah, it was despicable to see that so close to home, since Canada is just it's our hat. That's the United States' hat. And
Pretty much.
it's a very cold hat, and it's a very starting to get more and more commie kind of hat. But anyway, we digressing away from the topic at hand. Now, with coggies, talking about how they move the goalpost, they say, oh, it's about politics. It's about politics, because they want to shoehorn politics into everything. And then they say, oh, no, it's about the music. It's about the music. And then they try to also bring it back to punk. Now, I want to bring up this other clip from Jake's Goth is Not Political video, where he addresses the pulp punk thing, because Goth came from the music and the sound, at least, came from post-punk, right?
Right.
Post-punk came from punk. That's why it's called post-punk. So Goth didn't actually come directly from punk. It's just kind of like the grandparent of it, but it's not as they try to put it off. It's not like the movement. It's not like the attitude. It was the music. So
Bauhaus was the bridge.
Right. So here's a clip from Jake's video about addressing that, because like I said, he's done the research. So that's why I'm bringing it up. He actually read the books, done the research. So this is that
part in this book, somewhere around where I am here, that refers to punk being the inspiration for the sound, the instrumentation, the sound of punk. That was the inspiration. I've already quoted something here that says we were going for something different with Goth. While we were inspired by punk, we were wanting to do something different.
Yeah. Different. Flat out different. And those books that he's referencing are from the OGs, the people who basically started the scene. Whereas like the elements of, like, I know, I want the books too. I gotta go back and get the names of them, but like the scene, the goth scene and subculture may have evolved from that, but yes, a lot of the inspirations for it were from like well before punk was even a thing, right? Because the gothic literature was like, Mary Shelley, Lord Byron, Edgar Allan Poe and such, which were like 200 years ago. So the inspirations came 200 years ago. How is that going to be all about the same leftist politics that exists now? It makes no sense.
I think they try to reach, and they try to bring up like how the town wanted these figures dead in the book or something like that, which is a hell of a reach. I haven't heard that yet, but give it time.
I have heard that freaking...
They definitely overreach for stuff that they try to... A lot of these people try to look into something that isn't there. They try to read something that isn't there. For those of you who have watched that episode of South Park, the one where the controversial books episode, and Stan is like, "Oh my God, will you people stop reading what isn't there?"
Yeah, just like I think I've heard somewhere that somebody tried to say that Frankenstein was like an allegory for like homosexuality or something, like LGBT, and it's like a doctor built a monster and gave him life. Mary Shelley was a Christian. I don't think they're going to be writing about that stuff. And honestly, interpret art however you want. That's the beauty of art. If you find it reflects like something that is close to you, fine. I'm not going to be the one to take it from you if that's what brings you meaning. But to push that on others as fact when it's your own headcanon, that's you can't, and then oust them if they don't go along with it.
Right.
It's asinine, is what it is.
Although they could possibly say that the monster was genderless, they could say that, but I don't know how much proof of that anybody would really have.
Well, the one in Young Frankenstein definitely wasn't. Oh, that's being Schlafstücke.
That's another thing. I do see this when I go out. I mean, I know goths and punks, they hang out in the same spots, and it's natural. But one logo that I find insanely stupid is the anti-swastika. I'm sure you've seen it, whether it be in real life or online, or like the swastika and the anti-symbol over it. Like, that is just so absurdly stupid. Anyone that actually is would be proudly displaying an actual swastika, but we're not. Anybody that actually was a Nazi would be proudly displaying it.
Yeah, and that's what's so weird about them calling everybody Nazis, because Nazis are not ashamed to be Nazis. They're proud to be Nazis. And, you know, the whole, like, no Nazis, like, duh. That's kind of a duh. That's overreaching your virtue.
Exactly.
That is kind of like saying, it's like saying, getting a shirt that says murder is wrong. Well, no shit.
Well, that depends.
Well, if it's murder, yeah, murder is wrong. And so, I don't know, my issue with the whole thing is that I think the hammer and sickle should be looked at with the same amount of disdain as the swastika. And if you look historically, more people have died under communism than died in the Holocaust. Not saying that, you know, it makes it better, but
it doesn't.
They're both absolutely horrid, and they both should be looked at with the same amount of disdain.
Although, in all fairness, authoritarian communist regimes have been around a lot longer than authoritarian fascist ones. But the same idea, like the very worst aspects of either one requires big government in order to function, to operate the kind of evil that they did and do. And what really kills me is people will accuse libertarians of being fascist when we want government slashed by at least 90%.
Yeah, it's right. It's like what I've tried to argue is that libertarianism is basically minarchy. It really is basically minarchy. It's not anarchy, because you still have some sort of functioning government, but it is like as liberty as you can get and still have a government. It's the basics.
Absolutely. Like, I'm not gonna say what people should be or what they shouldn't be, but this is just a suggestion. But people in alternative culture should either be libertarian or anarchist.
It makes more sense.
But the problem is, a lot of them get duped into licking them Democrat boots.
Well, because, you know, here's the thing, is that all that propaganda that has been fed to alternative cultures for decades has tapped into the whole outcast, feel-good bullshit. So, you know, when you get into that, that's why they get more into communism. Like, oh, communism, like everybody gets this and that. Everybody gets healthcare, and healthcare is good. You want healthcare for everybody, right? So what they did is they pulled on everybody's heartstrings in the alternative culture scenes, that they normalized these feelings to actually, like a Trojan horse, bring in big government by playing on the whole outcast, the whole, you know, your feelings and like belonging and like this and that. Whenever all you have to do is take more pride. Just take pride in who you are. Just be yourself. You know, that's all you have to do, and that's part of liberty. That's what I really like about liberty, is that you do you. Like, I know that, yes, my name is Libertarian Goth. I know I'm not what you would consider a pure Goth. You know, it's a screen name, right? I don't have bangs. I don't do the pencil brows. You know, I'm me. I am just me, right? But
you look plenty the part.
Thank you. But you have these coggies that they're all going to make sure they get the Ankh belts. They're all going to make sure that they say they don't shop at Temu and Shein, and then they shame people that do, because, oh no, child labor. But that child labor comes from a communist country.
Yes. And also, if you want to get people to not do that, you got to give them some pointers on what to do instead. And like ideally you get stuff secondhand. Like 95% of my clothing is secondhand, unless there's a certain item that I really want. I mean, but the main reason you hear this term fast fashion a lot, although I really wish a lot of them would keep that same energy when it comes to fast food. as well.
Well, now
Because-
that RFK is condemned like that kind of stuff, they're all about it now, which is funny. Just like the Tylenol thing.
Which is so stupid. That's another example of that contradiction, that cognitive dissonance. But the thing is, ibuprofen was always more effective anyway. And RFK's always been a freaking chameleon. Like, you can't take his word for anything. But the thing is, they only just started disliking him because it was popular, or people knew how much of a people, if you really did their research, know how much of a snake Elon was for years. But they only just started hating him because it was the cool thing, just because he hung out with Orange Man, even though they have
Orange Man. He's the boogeyman.
Exactly, he's the figurehead. People forget that he's the puppet, not the puppeteer. Yet these same people, these anti-capitalism people, have absolutely no idea who Larry Fink is. They have no idea who Klaus Schwab is. They have no idea who Peter Thiel is, who Alex Karp. They forgot all about Bill Gates, and they for damn sure don't even know who some of them know who the Rothschilds and Rockefellers are. I mean, the people that I talk to in real life, I always make sure to bring them up every chance I get.
Yeah.
And whenever I talk to people about this kind of stuff when I'm actually out, I focus on what we do agree on rather than what we don't.
Yeah. I hear you there. Like, I try not to bring up stuff because I know that most coggies out in public are most likely going to be coggies and probably won't agree with me. So I try not to talk about anything except I don't know what we're doing right there. So let's go to the chat for some words because we only have about 8-ish minutes left. Let's see. Dave the Impaler 204. I was debating some moron on Twitter who said Elon is a Nazi and swastikas at one protest were proof the right are Nazis. I asked how many leftist protests fly hammering sickles. He blocked me. Oh, yeah, because, they don't want to look at their own faults and their own issues, despite them having so many. Did you say plagues? If we just gatekeep the ANCOMs more, and yeah, ANCOMs are the biggest joke ever. You can't be ANCOM, actually ANCOM. And it's not me how saying you can't be goth if you're not this. No, ANCOM is literally just
a literal oxymoron.
Yeah, it is.
I get being a Trump pansy means you're going to eventually be a bootlicker. I get that because you'll be defending authoritarian actions. But another thing that we forgot to bring up, and a couple of my friends have gone to these. The stupid No Kings protests are completely pointless, and people don't even realize. And God forbid if you bring this up, they were funded by Walmart.
Right.
And ultimately
mad about the tariffs.
But also, you know what Donald Trump did in retaliation to that? Laughed about it and posted an AI video on Twitter of him flying a jet and spraying Dookie all over them. You know what that you know what that tells me? Raged. It tells me he's not afraid of you at all.
Oh no, and he laughed about it, saying, "Oh, good job. There's still no kings. I'm still president." But
he's not afraid. That's ultimately where they fail. That's ultimately where they fail because he's not afraid of you. He's not afraid of us, even though he should be. But
here's the thing: he knows whenever it's ridiculous. I can admit the way the left approaches Trump is ridiculous, regardless of how I feel. Because here's what I'm always trying to say is that a leftist criticism of Trump comes from them being out of touch with reality. But if you ask a libertarian, their criticisms of Trump, it's going to be actually specific about policy, things that are actually real, things that actually are being done or not being done. So if you want a truthful criticism of Trump, ask a libertarian. Don't ask somebody on the left, because all they're going to tell you is that he's a felon, he's this and that. He's really not. He's not. Yeah. They don't know what they're talking about.
No, really he's just a figurehead. And another thing.
Okay.
Oh fuck! Why am I drawing a blank?
Oh, that's fine.
Forgot what it was.
Tuesday Plague said average age of No Kings protester is 62.
You think so?
They went to the nursing home and pulled people out and just gave them signs. All right, we only have about 4 minutes left. I know we kind of could go on and on talking, but it's an hour and it's late, and I'm tired. But
Me too.
I do want to thank you for coming on. Today's sponsor. Let's go ahead and give a shout out to today's sponsor. Today's sponsor, and if you watch the show, you know who I'm talking about here. It is libertariangoth.com, the largest alternative culture geared liberty store on the internet. And right now, the calendar is available. And not only is it available, I have one right here. I will be signing these this weekend. I would say unfortunately, but fortunately for me, I've sold out of all of the signed ones. So all the ones that I bought extra have already sold out. So if you didn't pre-order, I'm sorry. I have got over and over. Please pre-order because they do go whenever I get the extra. So they've all sold out. All the signed ones have sold out. But yeah, this is the calendar. It is, there's this big and there's one that's also bigger. But it's for 2026. I worked really hard on it, guys. So, be kind. But if it sucks, tell me too, because I want to know. I want feedback. But anyway, so I do want to thank you for coming on. Like I said, it's just, it's we can talk about this all night, and there's so much to talk about when it comes to it. And all the bullshit that coggies have done with the subcultures are almost unrecognizable, especially punk. Punk has been castrated completely. But
it's become way too dogmatic.
Yeah, to say the least. All right. So is there anything that you want to, promote? Anything you want to tell anybody? Go follow you or anything? Where can they follow you at?
Well, they can follow me at Denari on YouTube, at, I think, _the_king_dragon, 2 underscores after that. I don't know if there's an underscore before it, but you can always put the link in the description.
Yeah, I can do that. Just send it to me and I'll update it.
And there are some projects, some DIY projects that I'm going to be working on next year that I'm excited but also extremely nervous about because they're going to be very pricey and very time consuming to work on. But that's because of what I want to make stuff out of. Like what I'm going to, like, for example, I don't want to spoil too much of it, but my big project will be like a steampunk like long coat, but it'll have crocodile leather patched over it with feathers on the collar. Maybe I'll put some on the cuffs too, and a few other things. And I'm going to be trying to make a sleeveless version with the exact same design. That's going to be the hardest part.
Yeah. Well, best of luck with those. Looking forward to seeing them when they're done. But we are hitting right on an hour. Thank you again for coming on. It's great.
My pleasure.
But if I haven't said before, I already say like, comment, share, subscribe. If you haven't already, YouTube, Rumble, X. I'm mostly on X, so if you follow me on X, you'll see me there mostly. But yeah, also on Instagram. All right. So I do hope everybody has a great rest of your night, a great weekend. And remember, always lead with kindness unless they don't deserve it.